to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today, we are doing the Brooklyn Nets offseason recap and preseason predictions episode. This is part 2 for us doing this, because the last one, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But if you don't know how this works, we give each team their own full-length episode, and ultimately ending in us doing a full 30 team predictions. That's in less than 2 weeks. That's looking pretty good. We now have preseason basketball, and we get to talk about the wonderful Brooklyn Nets. Before we get started, Sheldon has Nets-related trivia for me. Let's see if I can increase my percentage for the year. I'll have to go back and tally what I shot.
Yeah, this is like a get back for you because I think you got the Nets one wrong last on the lost episode. But let's have our trivia question. The Brooklyn Nets selected 4 players in the 2021 NBA draft. Who did they take first? Who out of their draft class did they take first with the 27th overall pick?
Jeez.
And if you can get the college too, that's bonus.
So, four picks is kind of crazy. See, I know off the top of my head Cam Thomas is in that draft class. I think Day'Ron Sharpe should also be in that draft class. Outside of those two guys, I have no idea who else they took that year. So I'm going to think it's one of those guys. I believe they were both first-round picks. I know Cam Thomas was like 26th overall, and he went to LSU. I'm going to go with Cam Thomas. I could be wrong.
That is correct, Pat. And you got the two-parter right with the LSU call out as well. Cam Thomas there. So yeah, I don't know where Day'Ron Sharpe went two picks later. Cam Thomas 27, Sharpe 29th. So that was very close. So that was good.
So I got the fact that they were both first rounders.
Yeah.
I was one pick off from being exactly right. That's a pretty strong showing, I would say.
That was good.
To toot my own horn for sure. We're gonna go forward to the 25 Nets because we have a lot to talk about here. 2025 Brooklyn Nets was quite the team. They were 26 and 56, 12th in the Eastern Conference, 23 and 59 expected record, ranked 26th in the NBA. Their minus 6.95 SRS was also 26th in the NBA. SRS is opponent adjusted net rating. How well did you play against who you played? So the Nets were not very good in that category, like you would expect. 12 and 29 at home, 14 and 27 on the road. Pre-All-Star break, they were 20 and 34. Post-All-Star break, they were 6 and 22. Versus the Eastern Conference, they were 14 and 37. Versus the Western Conference, they were 12 and 19. In clutch games, they were 17 and 21 with a minus 11.6 net rating, which was 26th in the NBA. It was quite the season from the Brooklyn Nets. What stands out the most about the season to you?
Yeah, Pat. Probably the post All-Star break numbers. I mean, 6 and 22 is crazy, really bad. But I mean, they kind of sold the ship with a lot of their key players getting sold that were doing a lot on the offensive load and some stuff defensively as well with D'Angelo Russell and Dennis Schroeder getting shipped off. But did Russell play the second half of the season? Russell played the second half of the season, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dorian Finney-Smith as well got traded. So a lot of their good players ended up leaving and having some pretty good rest of the seasons on their respective teams. Yeah. Otherwise, other than that, it was just a really rough season for them. Played a lot of clutch games and just didn't do good in them. Didn't have good net rating there. But yeah, I would say definitely the post All-Star break numbers just kind of shows like what direction they wanted heading into the offseason.
Yeah, so like you said, post All-Star break was pretty rough. They actually started the season pretty well. As Cam Thomas pointed out on Twitter, they were the 6th seed before he got injured. I believe they were like a game or two below 500 at that point, but they were still doing you know, decently well from what you would expect from the Brooklyn Nets. Uh, they were looking very stable. Then I think Cam Thomas ended up playing only 25 games on the year total. Cam Johnson played around 50 games this season. Uh, just overall, and like you said, all of those decent veteran players that they had uh, that were propping them up a little bit no longer played on the team longer into the season. So, uh, yeah, overall, it was not a 100% disappointing season because we saw a ton of signs that we didn't necessarily expect to see from Brooklyn. But we did see signs of competency at times, and they just had to pull the plug. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll shift forward to the offense first. They were 28th in offensive rating with a 108.5. Their turnover rate was 27th in the NBA, 16th in offensive rebound percentage, 28th in pace. Not very quick pace team or a good offense for that matter. In play type numbers, they were 18th in isolation efficiency, 24th in pick and roll handler efficiency, 30th in roller efficiency, 28th in post up efficiency, and 26th in transition efficiency. Quite the team, to say the very least. What stands out about their offense?
Yeah, I think definitely just the frequency numbers is the thing that jumps out at you. A lot of red, and it shows like you said, there's a lot of competency. Like with bad teams, we see a lot of pick and roll stuff. Ball handler roller number frequency is really high, maybe isolation high as well. But this was a team that was like running like actual like sets, a lot of stuff off the ball. Um, so they had like a good offensive game plan. They just couldn't really connect it or make it efficient outside of those numbers, which is why they had the one of the worst offenses in the league. The transition stuff is really rough, especially I mean, in the pace stuff as well. Like it makes sense. You're 28th in pace that you're not going to be. I mean, they still got on transition like a good bit, but they just weren't able to convert. We see that a lot with young teams, or not great teams as well. Like a lot of shots early up in the shot clock and transition. And the turnover numbers really hurts as well. Like if you're a team that's struggling on offense and you can't keep the ball in your hand, that's never good.
Yeah, a lot of the time they would struggle to get into possessions, and that would, throw them away there. They were the highest frequency handoff team this past season, and they were only 22nd in handoff efficiency. They were a good bit ahead of every other team. Second place was the Sacramento Kings. And yeah, they just didn't perform well in those areas either, but it was a larger part of their offense than it was for most other teams. Um, Overall, like we did see, like you said, more structured offense. Usually these bad teams have bad players, so they have to run bad plays, basically. And the Nets did have the bad players, but they kind of refused to run the bad plays because they wanted players to develop within a structure. Last season, a lot of handoffs for Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, um, all of their other players that they had, not ones that you want to see running a ton of handoff actions. A lot of poor offensive creating guards. Even Dennis Schroeder having like a career season in hit the first half of the season in Brooklyn. Not a guy you want to run a ton of offense through, and that's ultimately why their offense struggled. Um, they're also like towards the top in miscellaneous possessions. I think fifth in terms of miscellaneous possessions last season. Pretty rough. Those are not very efficient. So we'll move forward, not to harp too much on what was a pretty piss poor offense. Defensively, they were slightly better in some areas. 115.8 defensive rating, ranked 20th in the NBA, 7th in opposing turnover percentage, 23rd in defensive rebound percentage. Isolation defense was 4th, pick and roll ball handler defense was 5th, roller defense and post up defense were both 28th in the NBA, 25th transition defense. Key standouts: high volume isolation defense at 9th, and a very high volume third transition defense. Um, so, you don't like to see the high volume in transition, but you balanced it out with a higher volume of isolation possessions. give or take, it's okay. Just the real thing is that they really struggle to defend with size, really struggling defending in the post up in the pick and roll roller situations, and they would sell out a good bit for handlers as well. So, what stood out to you about their defense?
Yeah, Pat. So I think you just kind of said one of the big things that jump out to me right before you passed it on with just the fact that the Nets did not let the ball handlers like work at all in the pick and roll action. Like they sent a lot of blitzes and traps at them. And that's why teams like didn't want to run it against them, as you see. Only 30th frequency against, but still did a really good job of that. Teams are running a lot of isolation against them, but they're doing a really good job of stopping it. So that's always good. Yeah, transition is rough if teams are going to get out there on you like that. But I mean, you did a good, or no, you did not do a good job of defending it at all. So yeah, that really hurts you, um, especially when you're turning over the ball so much on offense. And I think that probably contributes to those numbers a little bit. Uh, but there's like some decent takeaways, I guess. Look at this, just the fact that they did so good against ball handling and isolation, and they got a lot of turnovers because of like how aggressive they played on defense. Defensive rebounding stuff hurts. But like you said, they struggle with size at times, so not getting box outs and not being able to finish possessions really hurt.
Yeah, and it's also like a pillar of their pick and roll coverages. It would often put them in bad positions for box outs, for getting rebounds, or even defending guys right at the rim because they're really selling out to stop the handlers. Even some of their better defensive players, moving at the deadline, Dennis Schroeder or Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson missing a ton of time post deadline. Those things really hurt. But even when you look at who they had after the deadline, Keon Johnson's like a guy who can move around there a little bit. Zaire Williams can play a little bit. And you think about their lineups that they were running. They were also running a ton of small lineups, very similar to what we had seen with the Hornets, where Miles Bridges is your four, or Grant Williams is your four. You're not going to rebound the ball well. And it's what we tend to see here in Brooklyn these past couple of years. I think they're going to potentially move away from that. We'll just have to see. Depending, we've seen some signs with their draft picks of what this regime will value in prospects, and we'll get to that very shortly. I'd say we got through this section a little bit faster than we normally do, just because we know how long this draft section is going to take. We already did it once, and it's looming. So, any other takeaways from their defense or offense before we go to scheme?
No, we can move ahead.
Team scheme and coaching staff. Jordy Fernandez is their head coach. GM is Sean Marks. Assistant coaches Juwan Howard, Connor Griffin, and Jay Fernandez. Most notable stuff here: Jordy Fernandez, not key piece, but a well-known assistant coach in the Denver Nuggets for a while. I think he had experience in San Antonio as well, or it might have been Sacramento as well. There was a ton of experience running a high delay action offense. We saw that get implemented a little bit more with a ton of handoffs this past season. I think I've really liked what I've seen from Jordy Fernandez as a head coach, as the head coach of the Canada national team. I think he's done some nice stuff. Sean Marks, we can talk about him. He might, we talked about Leon Rose being on trial. Sean Marks could be on trial as well. Then, yeah, you got anything else? And it could be scheme talk as well.
Yeah, like I think some things I noticed with Jordy Fernandez was a lot of the off-ball screens to get the cutters open worked really well, and that was effective for them. They also ran pin-down screens for three-point shooters, and they just had really good movement, which is something you don't really see from a lot of bad teams. Like, you see two guys running a two-minute game with like shooters on the perimeter, but they did a good job of relocating and moving around. They knew who they wanted to get the ball to. Cam Johnson thrived in this offense whenever he did play. They went to him a lot. Cam Thomas as well. But even though we only played 25 games, like you said, like at the beginning of the episode, when he was playing, they weren't a terrible team. Um, so the offense was looking good. I think in the future, like moving forward, we'll see how it goes. Like when they actually have guys that can run it the way that Jordy wants it to run. Um, a lot of screens like on the baseline to free guys up, and they ran a lot of like multiple sets. It felt like so they didn't just have they weren't getting discouraged running one play. They would run multiple things, really shake it up, try to get some scoring going.
Jordy made sure to polish the turd that was given to him. Um, I think we'll see as he gets more talent around him. This could be a budding like good head coach in the NBA, and that's something that we really like to see, especially a team that needs to have somebody help turn around uh, really everything that's going around in Brooklyn here over the last two seasons. We'll go forward to their draft because there's a ton to go over here. They had 5 picks. 8th overall, they select Yegor Demin. 19th overall, they select Nolan Traore. 22nd overall, they select Drake Powell. 26th overall, Ben Saroff. 27th overall, Danny Wolf. So much stuff going on here. Let's just start with their first pick in the draft, Yegor Demin. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, let's talk about it, Pat. Igor Demin, he's probably one of my favorite picks out of this draft class. Uh, 6'9" point guard from BYU, averaged 10.6 points per game last season on 3.9 rebounds and 5.5 assists. Shot 41% from the field and 27% from the 3-point line. The thing that you love about him is his size and his ability to play make. 6'9" with his 6'10" wingspan and just really good passer and insane vision, especially in the pick and roll game. I think that's something that can be utilized a lot and maybe help with some of the pace stuff, pushing the ball up the court, being able to fire quick passes into tight windows. Um, like I said, really good in the pick and roll. That's where a lot of his scoring came from in college. He struggled a little bit with like handle and self creation, but like when you have a big like Nick Claxton who can set good screens for you, I think that can be a effective little 1-2 duo, especially him rolling to the rim and maybe lob opportunities. Yeah, and I think the playmaking upside can be even greater if he becomes more of a scoring threat. I think that will open up a lot for his game, but he's pretty good at driving and getting to the rim and finishing there. Um, yeah. Some of his weaknesses last season, the 3-point shot is the thing that's being talked about a lot, but he looked pretty good in the summer league. Shot 43% from there on 7 attempts. It was only in 3 games, so really, really small sample size. But I think the fact that he was shooting, like he looked comfortable shooting and confident, uh, is a really good sign there. And then just defensive consistency, like staying engaged on defense. I think like he can be like an acceptable defender if he uses his size and length and just puts in a little hustle. Uh, but yeah, I really like this. I think to sum it up, great passer, great size, great feel for the game, and honestly, like the scoring stuff, even though it's a little down, I think it's better than most people think.
So last episode we had a player that I was much higher than you on, and now we're in the exact inverse. I understand a lot of the hype around Yegor Demin. He is a legit 6'8", 6'9", very talented passer, one of the best passers in this draft, without a doubt. And I think a lot of the reasons people are concerned about him are not the reasons I'm concerned about Yegor Demin. I think the shot's at a fine place to where there have been much weirder development arcs as a shooter. I think he had a ton of high volume attempts and a good amount of off the dribble attempts as a college player for somebody who's not like a natural shooter. I think the huge concerns for me about Yegor Demin is he can't really dribble or get to the rim yet, and that's really concerning. I think if he adds strength, that's like a huge swing for his game. Because I think he really needs it at the NBA level. He struggled a lot against higher ranked competition in college this past season. And that was like later in the season. So it's not like he, struggled early in the season and then got better as the year went on. And it just happened to be against the worst teams. He was really good early in the year against the bad teams. was getting top 5 hype, and then you started playing good teams, and they could defend him and bump him off spots extremely easily. And that's where I'm concerned about Yegor Demin. I think there's enough to say that the shot could come along. The defense, it's hard to be 6'8" with like a plus wingspan and be a bad defender. But that's kind of where Yegor Demin was last year in college. I think there's certainly an argument that, scaling him down a little bit on offense can improve the defense. I'm always going to be an arguer of that, but I'm just a little bit concerned about where the offense comes from, because if teams are not really respecting him as a ball handler, I struggled to see how the on-ball passing really pops as high as it could. But that being said, he made 62% of his rim attempts this past season, and that is a really good sign. So, can he touch 2 feet in the paint? That's going to be the swing for Yegor. Names, comparisons. I think there's a very obvious one.
Josh Giddey. I went with Josh Giddey. Playmaking big playmaker. That can also like shoot a little bit. Not like a great shooter, but can get it done from the line. Can play a little defense. Hopefully he can get to that level. But yeah, I went with a big guard that can play me with Josh Giddey.
That's the name for sure. I think, if maybe he could put on some strength and move to the wing, I think that's where I like him the best, honestly. And if he can put on a ton of strength and, get to the rim, he's Franz Wagner-like. And I think that's where you could sell me on the upside of Yegor Demin. I really don't know how much I like him as like a pure point guard type of player, because it doesn't bring you as much lineup advantages as I think it will. I mean, it could, and I could be completely wrong about Yegor, but yeah, I think is it the guy who I would have selected 8th overall? No, but I can see how you would be on the Yegor Demin Kool-Aid. Did you have him around 8th in the draft process?
I mean, I had him going to the Suns at like 10 because I thought that would be a good fit. But like honestly, I think you could have took him at like you could have traded up and got him at like 15. I think. I
Yeah,
like this is the thing. I really like the pick, but I do agree that it wasn't reach to get him at 8. I think that they could have waited. But
yeah, we
I do
both
like. But I think I would say it was a little bit of a reach for sure.
when we did the Suns in the mock draft, it was like the first time since the Kevin Durant trade had happened that anybody had really thought about them at 10, and we were like, Yegor is not who like is the best prospect available at all here, but he's kind of a weird fit for the Suns, so why not? I think taking him around 15, like you said, is probably where they could have gotten him, I think. But, weird things have happened in the draft. We'll move forward to Nolan Traore. He spent this past season at she's in France. International team was um, Saint Quentin. There we go. Jeez. Yeah, he's a 6'3" guard. He has decent size. He has decent length. He's a very quick up tempo player. Um, Struggled with the shot earlier in the NBA or in the overseas season. As the season went along, got a lot better, almost kind of the inverse of Yegor Demin. Nolan Traore entered the year as a top 5 prospect in the draft. I would just say, like, watch how he progresses throughout his NBA career, because there could be some really fun stuff. All of the great passing comments you can make on Yegor Demin, you can make most of them about Nolan Traore. Traore's extremely quick. He has a much better handle, and I think defensively, he's got the brains to really get by on defense and potentially turn some plus value on that end. I think the key with Traore is the shot any good? Because there's a good chance it's not. But if it's any good, he's somebody who's just going to stick in the league as like a good backup point guard, fringe starter type of guy. And I really like that. What do you have on Nolan?
Yeah, Pat, you pretty much hit every nail on the head there. Um, I like everything that he does. Like you just said, the passing, the playmaking, the size and the length especially is really good. 5.1 assists last season. Um, in the in, with St. Quentin, right? So you said St. Quentin.
Yeah.
And I think he can push the pace, which is something the Nets definitely need as we look at. But yeah, like you said, I think shooting is definitely a big part of his game. That he's gonna, if it proves to be good, if it proves to be a little consistent, he's definitely gonna have a spot in the league for a while. Good on defense. He can play well in the pick and roll, just like all these guys. Uh, yeah, we'll have to see. I think scoring is going to be a big factor for him. Just like with all three guards they drafted.
Yeah, individual scoring. They drafted three off ball, not off ball, but guys who need to develop as on ball scorers, who might not be good shooters right away. Traore, I had a couple spots ahead of Yegor Demon on my draft board, and I came away with Fred VanVleet and Corey Joseph as names that he reminded me of. Were there any names that popped up for you on Nolan Traore?
Yeah, I wrote down Howie with no shot. Um,
Let's go.
yeah, I think this there's a little bit of a size difference there, but besides that, I think the playmaking and everything there uh is really good. Like Halliburton, I think the shot is nowhere near Hallie, obviously, and it would be really hard for it to get there. But I mean, Hallie player comps, especially after the season he had, are always good. So yeah, that's what I came away with.
Yeah, the slightness of frame as well applies there. He's not actually that much smaller than Halliburton. I think he's like an inch and a half. So there's some merit to a broken shot Halliburton, which is what a lot of people thought about Tyrese Halliburton in the draft, and that's why he didn't get drafted as high as he should have. But yeah, Traore measured in at a legit 6'3", and Halliburton was about 6'4.5".
Oh,
Uh,
I'm tripping then. I
yeah,
thought he
but
was
it
six
is.
eight.
Yeah, it is the without shoes measurements.
I
So,
thought I thought Halliburton was 6'8". Not
well,
going.
he commonly gets compared to Cade Cunningham and LaMelo Ball, who are 6'8". So,
Yeah,
um,
that's
because we
crazy.
have to round up LaMelo Ball, because
Yeah,
come
no,
on,
we can't. We
yeah.
can't.
Um, Speaking of, we have Drake Powell here at number 22. Um, Drake Powell is a legit 6'5", with a 7-foot wingspan and the highest vertical leap in the draft at 43 inches. He is a very efficient rim scorer at 50 or 65%. He was a not even a low volume. He was like a no volume scorer in college. Played a completely off ball role as a cutter and catch and shoot shooter. He shot 36% on low volume from three this past season, and he also entered this draft cycle as a projected lottery pick. I think there's some really fun stuff with Drake Powell. Most importantly, he is like an awesome defensive player, really good at staying in front of his man. Isn't going to be the most disruptive defender at creating deflections and steals, but yeah, he's a very good staying in front, moving. I think he'll be able to guard 1 through 3, but potentially bulk up and play a little bit up. Maybe not really, but yeah, I mean he's a very fun defensive player, and I think outside of like Jamal Mayshak, this is like the best perimeter defender in the draft who isn't getting exclusively drafted for his defense. And he was a freshman this season as well, so there's a ton to grow into here. What do you got on Drake?
Yeah, Pat, like you said, ton to grow into, and the defense is amazing. I think that's a great selling point for a prospect in the draft, especially a freshman. I mean, he's a guy that can go in and guard. He can guard. You can put him in to guard someone in the NBA right now. I don't know about the other team's best player, but the third option, second option. I think as the season goes on, we'll see him get that role. Even if he's not producing on the offensive end, you can put guys around him that. And honestly, the biggest thing about him is just we don't know what his offense is. Like you said, um, no volume scorer at UNC last season. Shot 37% from three. Not on a lot of attempts though, but there's promise there. Um, the free throw numbers are concerning though. He did shoot 64% from the line. Uh, but I mean, the defense is so good that like it's kind of a safe bet. Like out of all these picks, this is probably the safest bet they did. Just get a guy that can go out there and give you just great defense, really good defensive minutes every night. And like he could end up being like something really good on offense, especially if you put him in that corner and just let him shoot threes. I think early on that's where his offense is going to thrive. And we'll see if he ends up becoming more of a not on ball, but more of like a threat scoring. Besides just the 3-point shot.
Somehow the 19-year-old who is like 200 pounds is their safest pick, who also has a questionable jumper. But yeah, I really like Drake Powell. Some of the comparisons I came away for Drake Powell was like Knicks Quentin Grimes and Vince Williams Jr. So what'd you have as far as comparisons?
I came away with Herb Jones, um, a good a wing, long wing that just can shut down defensively and also rim protect. I'm excited to see what this kid does defensively. Hopefully, his offensive game comes through as well.
Yeah, at the very least, it's somebody who makes sense in a normal starting lineup at all times, if he hits his ceiling, of course. Ben Saroff, I'm actually right beside Danny Wolf's draft profile, so we'll go straight to Danny Wolf, and then we'll come back to Ben Saroff. So Danny Wolf, junior this past season at Michigan, previously had 2 years spent at Yale. What do you have on Danny Wolf?
Yeah. Um 6'11", 13 points per game last season, 9 rebounds, 3.6 assists. I believe that he led the Big Ten in rebounding like per game last season. Uh, Good ball handling for a big. He also passed really well. Like he kind of played like a point center role at Michigan last season, which I think is gonna like help him in the NBA become like an effective passer. And honestly, like maybe you can put him in the post as kind of like a Jokic like initiator. Maybe we see some of that with Jordy Fernandez. He's great in the pick and roll. Um, he can score. He can score really good at the rim as well. He had a lot of success there, uh, especially with like in the post game as well. Good post game, and he could stretch the floor. It's not his strength, as he only shot 33% last season from the 3-point line. But I think that he can do it enough to kind of have it be respectable, and he can honestly stretch the floor for them. So, and a really good mobility as a big. Um, yeah, things you got to worry about him. He had a lot of turnovers. He had the ball in his hand a lot. Obviously, I think that his role this year will be as more of like a connective passer, and I think he can thrive in that role. Um, Defense against quick players like guards or quick wings, I think he's definitely going to struggle. Good mobility on offense, struggles a little bit with that mobility on defense. The rim protection too, not very vertically. He's not a vertical threat. He's not going to like come help backside and block a shot, you know. And the free throw numbers were really concerning at 59% last season. Can't really trust him when he gets on the line. But he's like a modern big in this NBA. Can dribble, can pass, and shoot a little bit. More like a Walmart version of today's like dream modern big, I think. But I mean, I don't know, Pat. What do you think?
Well, you can squint at him and see both a tall wing and a stretch five, and then you put your glasses on and you realize he's kind of not both of them, but still both of them at the same time. Like you said, he can kind of switch, but it's just like he's not good at necessarily guarding any position that Michigan didn't really care to switch him last year. They also didn't care if they did switch him last year. They also had Vlad Golden behind him defending the rim, and that was really key for them. Uh, he at least showed the good footwork and like executing switches. After they did the switch, it wasn't necessarily always great results, but it did work, like you said. His athleticism hurts him at the rim. I think he's like a really good ball handler, uh, and that's gonna get him into some decent spots. He passed the ball decent well, like you said, 3.5 assists a game. I think he was around 2.5 turnovers a game this past season, and the large part of that is because he tries some passes and he will create a ton of easy shots for teammates, and then he will also throw things off the defender's leg. And you hone it in a little bit, and it can become something pretty valuable as a big man passer. Um, like you said, there are some questions if the shot is real. Shot 58% from the free throw line this past season. I believe he's a little bit better in his 2 seasons at Yale as well. But yeah, the college shooting, 3-point shooting was pretty inconsistent. I think that's a huge swing skill for him. If he hits as a 3-point shooter, then he can play the 4 in the NBA, and I think that's kind of what he needs to be. But yeah, it's like a really weird modern big, like you said. What were, some of the names that came up for you? I'll go ahead with one of mine. It was Dario Saric.
Nice. I went with like a best case scenario Sabonis. Um, like I think now, streaky shooter, good screen setter, can pass the ball well, really good rebounder. I think these are all things that Danny Wolf can do, especially the rebounding stuff. I think Danny Wolf can do day one. Uh, yeah, and the playmaking as well.
Yeah, I feel like the rebounding can't be like looked over, and that's a little bit where like the Sarge comparison falls flat. Um, Other names that come up are like, maybe it's more Bobby Portis like, weirdly enough, or Christian Wood like. Um, I think those are names that are pretty relevant for Danny Wolf. But I think he's slightly better passers than those guys. I think that could hopefully help him stick in the league. He is a 4, and they will have a 4 who can rebound the basketball now, and they didn't have that the past year or so. So I think that's pretty key for Danny Wolf. And we'll talk about if any of these, like Danny Wolf is like the one that I was expecting them to take, because I was like, oh, they have two guys who they value passing and positional size, or like length and height for a position. Danny Wolf, they're gonna love Danny Wolf because they're gonna see him as a 4 who can pass the ball, handle the ball, and be tall for the position. Then they took Drake Powell, and then they took Ben Saroff. Talk about Ben Saroff now. I do like the Danny Wolf pick though, especially at 27. I think that's about right where I had him in my draft board. I think maybe a spot or two lower, but yeah, Danny Wolf's a good pick. What do you have on Ben Saroff?
Yeah, 6'6" guard, weighs 200 pounds. Last season with rate ratio farm, ratio
Yes.
farm and then to the Germany league, he averaged 12.4 points per game, 4 assists per game, 3 rebounds, shot 45% from the field with 29 and shot 29% from the 3-point line with 2.4 turnovers a game. Um, yeah, things I like about him, he's really good at really good playmaking vision. Uh, like he thrives in the pick and roll. Um, really good at breaking defenders down there. Creative passer as well. Can find weak side shooters. Good size at 6'6". Um, yeah, good size at 6'6". I mean, I'm really not high on this guy. I saw him in summer league, and he just like looked really awful. Um, the things to like one of his biggest the 3-point shot is like non-existent, and it looked really bad, especially in summer league, and he shot 29%. And that it's definitely going to be a hurdle, a big one too, because I think you already have two guards ahead of you that can't shoot, but I do think that Igor and Traore are like miles ahead of Saraf. Um, Not really like physical on defense, kind of gets bumped off his spot. Uh, bigger guards or bigger wings have their way with him in the post or around there, can get to the rim easily on him. And if he's put under pressure, like I said, 2.4 turnovers a game. So struggled a little bit there when pressure was thrown in his face. Really great passer. You already got two guys like that. I don't really understand the pick. I don't like the pick, and I don't really see a future with him on this team. Little negative.
It's
But
re-
yeah.
it's really rough. I don't think all of it is Ben Saroff hate. It's just like you already took two players in the same archetype with Traore and Demon. And I think Ben Saroff is like the farthest from being an NBA shooter. If I were to argue anything with Saroff potentially fitting with these guys, it's Ben Saroff could defend a little bit potentially. He isn't like a great athlete, and that's the concern with Ben Saroff. But he does have almost 6'9" wingspan. He's 6'6". He does need to bulk up a little bit, but he's quicker, for sure. And it could be something. You mentioned all the passing vision. It is actually really good. Shot making's concerning. It's like kind of the same archetype as the guys we mentioned before. Um, I think last time when we did this, I came away with the player comparison of broken jump shot D'Angelo Russell, and I'm gonna stick with that one. So, what did you have?
Yeah, I forgot what I said. Last time. Like I don't really know. Maybe a Killian Hayes type. I think like
Damn.
best case scenario, like everything works out like really well. Like a Manu Ginobili with no jumper, maybe. Uh, Combo guard, decent, really good passer, crafty finisher at the rim. That's like best case scenario, I think.
Modern day Manu and Killian Hayes is about as far as it goes. He was also very good at changing directions and getting into shots in the mid area. Um, didn't convert them as much as you would like, but he does look comfortable. He gets into a wide variety of floaters and push shots for a guard. There's like not nothing in Ben Saroff for sure, and like there is potential like that he pops. Like you said, a broken jump shot Manu Ginobili is probably a little bit better than D'Angelo Russell. 'Cause broken jump shot D'Angelo Russell like just is Killian Hayes. Um,
Yeah.
so Ben Saroff, we're not that negative on him. Like I did have him maybe in the 30s. It might have been in the 40s, but it was in the early 40s if it was. I didn't think it was that crazy of a pick at 26. So yeah, shout out to Ben Saroff. Shout out to this whole Brooklyn Nets draft. We've never graded any drafts, but what would you grade this Brooklyn Nets draft?
Like C minus to D plus.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like that's
about
fair. I feel like you get like there's a couple like Powell's probably gonna be something, and Danny Wolf can be something, and then Igor like it's gonna take him a lot more. So like, but like right now, yeah, I'd say C plus. I mean C minus.
my issue with it is they took a bunch of uh low floor guys, and I don't really think any of them have that high of ceilings. Like with
Mm,
Diego and Demon, we're talking about like Josh Giddey being his ceiling,
yeah,
and like Josh Giddey might not be able to play on a good team. It's kind of rough, kind of rough. I think at least Drake Powell like does seem like a guy who can play on every team if he hits. Nolan Traore like probably plays on every team if he hits. His potential. Igor Demin like probably will be able to play on every team if he hits. It's just like, are you really happy drafting a bench player 8th overall? And I'm not saying like he's gonna be a bench player because there's a good chance like the Nets are like a play-in team in a couple years, and Igor Demin's like it's like a semi-important player on that team who starts. But yeah, it's such a weird draft. And like the key thing is we talked about the shot being questioned for literally every single one of them.
Yeah.
Uh, so their math is saying that one of these guys will develop as a shooter. Let's take all of the guys with slight shooting upside, just enough for you to believe that they can shoot the basketball, and that's enough for the Nets to take you. It might work out. I think the real surprise for me is they didn't end up with Young Hansen, and it is because Young Hansen went ahead of them. But I was expecting them to leave this draft with Young Hansen because he sounds like the perfect fit for a Jordy Fernandez handoff centric system. But he obviously got taken before their second pick here. We will move forward to the trades and free agent section. They acquire Haywood Highsmith, Michael Porter Jr., Kobe Buffkin, Terrence Mann, and EJ Liddell. EJ Liddell is on a two-way contract. We don't have to talk too much about these, but Michael Porter Jr. is like a top 100 player in the league. He's a great shooter. He rebounds the ball pretty well, which, like we mentioned, they desperately need. Haywood Highsmith can defend the perimeter a little bit. Kobe Buffkin's never really gotten a chance in the NBA. We'll see if that can be something. And Terrence Mann brings point of attack defense, which was kind of a staple of their team last year. What stands out to you here?
I mean, these are like a nice little, like calm little additions right here. Obviously Michael Porter Jr. you get for Cam Johnson. We're gonna see Michael Porter Jr. as like the 1/2. I don't know if Cam Thomas will probably take over that role. Um, but like it'll be fun to watch like MPJ shoot even more than he already did because, like you said, he's a great shooter. Uh, Haywood Highsmith, really good player for the Heat. He was left out of a lot of trade talks. He was deemed untouchable, so you have a lot of good stuff there. Kobe Buffkin, really good guard. I liked what I saw when he actually got to play in Atlanta. Obviously, you have a lot of good guards there. It's hard to get playing time. And Terrence Mann, he also, like you said, really good point of attack defense and provides a spark plug off the bench. I think.
Yeah, and Haywood Highsmith was untouchable in trades. 2 years later, they're dumping him salary-wise to Brooklyn. Let's go. Pat
Oh
Riley's
yeah,
got
Pat
another one in
Riley.
him.
He's a
Can't wait for
he's a
the Tyler Hero
genius.
contract. It's going to be awesome. We'll move forward. Notable losses. Trendon Watford goes to Philly. D'Angelo Russell goes to the Mavs. D'Anthony Melton to the Warriors. Maxwell Lewis, Keon Johnson, and Reese Beekman are all unsigned. Cam Johnson goes to the Nuggets. And Tosan goes to the Knicks. Yeah, what stands out to you here besides the D'Lo reunion not lasting very long at all?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of just like I think yeah, there's a good bit of like roster fillers here. You can see by a lot of the unsigned stuff. Keon Johnson actually played pretty good ball for them last season, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
He defends enough and
yeah,
is athletic. He's like not a
but
nothing guy. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, Cam Johnson, you got Michael Porter Jr., so I think you kind of get a trade off there. I think Cam Johnson's better, but you're not. It's not like a detrimental hole in your lineup because you filled it with MPJ. D'Angelo Russell, yeah, I mean, it hurts, I guess, but I'm not. I think after all the guards you just brought in, I think you obviously were planning for this to happen. So, another guy that struggled to shoot last season at the guard position, 29%. So, I'm
Yeah,
okay
and
with these losses. I'm honestly fine with them.
I would be as well. You can't have D'Angelo Russell there and then have broken jump shot D'Angelo Russell. Um,
It's not a good combo.
yeah, not a good combo. Because then broken jump shot D'Angelo Russell would learn D'Angelo Russell's shot tendencies. So it's gonna be awesome when that happens. Um, but yeah, I like you said, like none of these are much more than roster fillers, and the guys that were like D'Lo's, he's a mid-level type of player. D'Anthony Melton could be a good player still, but he's recovering from an ACL tear. Like none of this really matters, honestly. But Cam Johnson's obviously very good too. But they have had availability waning with him, whether or not that's real or front office enforced. We'll see this year in Brooklyn, but yeah. Here's their cap sheets. Um, as you can see here, Michael Porter Jr. Is still making his max contract. Let's go. Nicholas Claxton's got his long-term extension. Terrence Mann is on a pretty rough deal, almost $16 million a year for the next 3 years. That's how they got one of their picks in the draft, by taking on that contract. And then they got rookie deals, minimums. Yeah, that's it really. Cam Thomas. Last episode we had quite the lengthy section about Cam Thomas. We'll push it over into the lineups section, so people have something better to look at than spot tracks, cap sheets. But is there anything here that stands out to you?
Um, I mean, I'm sure they're going to have a good bit of cap space within the next couple years, is what it's looking like, with a lot of unrestricted free agents, and then a lot of red, which is rookie deals.
Team
Right,
team options.
team options. Okay, but even though those numbers are also very low, like I'm not seeing anything over 10 million. So that's good. Looks like clean books, I think. Right.
Yeah, and right here we confirm that next offseason they will have over $100 million in cap space.
Okay.
Could be even more if they find some way to shed any money, honestly. But yeah, they will have plenty of cap space over the next couple of seasons. That's going to be really good for a team that's really trying to crawl their way out of what is a bad roster. Point blank, it's a bad roster. We'll move forward into the lineup data. It's been a minute since I cooked this one up. Usually I cook these up and then, I display them on the episode like a day or so after. Yeah, this is like 2 weeks after. This is kind of crazy. Highest minutes on the team last season were Jalen Wilson and Keon Johnson. Neither are on the team, so it's pretty awesome. When they had competent players last year over 331 minutes, Dennis Schroeder, Cam Johnson, and Dorian Finney-Smith had a plus 12.76 net rating. If you reduce that to 228 minutes and add Cam Thomas, they had a plus 10 net rating. So Jordy can cook a little bit. You give him, it doesn't
Give him
have
some
to be the
guys.
fillet. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the fillet, but he can make a nice little pork chop for you. Maybe not the move with Danny Wolf and Ben Saroff. I'm pretty sure that's against their religion. Um, is that correct?
What? Oh yeah, no. That's no good. No
No
good.
good.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Darn. Well,
It's okay. They
they'll.
can find something. Maybe they'll just wait for the next meal. They'll wait for the next meal.
I'm sure like they can drive across the bridge and get the New York pizza. Yeah, I mean, maybe not anything wrong with that, right? Is there anything wrong with
No, you
getting the
can
New
have
York pizza?
you. No, you can get cheese pizza, regular cheese
Oh,
pizza,
no pep.
no pep.
Ooh, okay. Well, that is Danny Wolf is at least he's filled out frame wise, so he doesn't have to get the extra protein. So he's good.
Yeah.
Um, they'll have to work in alternative ways for Drake Powell, or not Drake, well, Drake Powell too, but um, Ben Saroff because he's 200 pounds. Um, we'll talk about their new lineups. I didn't know what to do here, but I put their good players in the lineup. So Yegor Demin, they selected him 8th overall. He'll start. They'll have Cam Thomas to take a large percentage of the ball handling from Yegor Demin because he can't really dribble yet, like we lined out before. Haywood Highsmith and Porter Jr., they're at least like NBA wings, so I put them in the starting lineup because they do need to have some resemblance of structure. And then Nick Claxton's like, a good center, and then Daron Sharp is like not a like nobody as a backup center. So they have some structure here at the center position and the wing spots. Um, yeah, is there anything that you would have done differently with this starting lineup?
No, I like the starting lineup. I like having Haywood Highsmith in there, like kind of like a veteran that can play good wing. MPJ, gotta have him there. Gotta have Cam Thomas there. Yeah, give Igor the point guard keys to the point guard position. I agree. Once the shot clock starts running out, give it to Cam Thomas so he can do his thing. Um, and like you said, Nick Claxton had a little bit of a down year, but still a really good center. And MPJ, yeah, we know what he's going to give you every night. Um, yeah, the bench is looking a little rough though. I'm not gonna lie. I do like Terrence Mann and Daron Sharp. Noah Clowney too. He provides good defense and rim protection. Um, but yeah, besides that, you're relying on a lot of rookies. A lot of rookies. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens for sure.
Yeah, the thing with Clowney too is the shot making's been like abysmal. In like I think he shot like
Really?
under 40%, I think, from the field this year. I can get quick confirmation, but uh, we liked Clowney and we highlighted him last season. But we'll see what that ends up being. Yeah, he shot 36% from the field.
Ooh, nice.
He's under 40 on the career. But yeah, like you said, the rim protecting's somewhat real, and he can shoot the three if he's playing the center spot. If he's a four, it's not really a real thing, but yeah, it's something. And then Terrence Mann, like they have enough veterans to where it's not going to be horrible to develop. It's just then I when looked at the point guard position, it's like, oh my God, it has to be a young player organizing the offense. Like even the bench guys are Trayor, Buffkin, and Saraf, who have proved nothing in the NBA so far. So three of them because they haven't played, and then Buffkin has had
He's got those
injuries.
little Mickey Mouse hair, right?
What?
He's got the Mickey Mouse hair, Buffkin.
Yeah, yeah. Was not expecting that reference. Um, Michael Porter Jr. has he's aspired probably our first in-season episode of going through our favorite NBA quotes, or maybe not our favorite. I don't know.
Oh God,
I don't know if we
favorite's
should attach
crazy.
ourselves to the MPJ takes, but yeah, we're gonna go over the best NBA quotes. Um,
He's
Way to
had
go,
some interesting
MPJ.
guests on that on that podcast for sure.
Yeah, he's quite the character. We the Nuggets PR team goes crazy. I think Jordy needs to, go ahead and figure out what he can bring over on that aspect because I think he overlooked that side of things. Cam Thomas, we have to talk about the free agency situation because he signed the qualifying offer and recently signed qualifying offer Quentin Grimes also happened. That was worded absolutely horribly, but oh well. Um, we've gotten the wonderful graciousness of their agents of revealing what the contract offers were when these guys signed. Quentin Grimes was offered like 39 million over 4 seasons, which is kind of a joke. And then Cam Thomas was given some like kind of real offers, and his qualifying offer was like $6 million. So not a huge chunk of
Crazy.
money. He was given like 12 million to sign a 1 year deal this past season, and 30 million with a team option over 2 years. And he sided with the $6 million qualifying offer. I don't really get it
Wait, was
why
it a team
he.
option? The second one,
Yeah, the second deal was a 1+1 team option for $30 million total.
and then you could have got some more after that second season. Because
Yeah,
like, if he performs the way he's gonna think he's gonna perform. Like, just wait 2 years on the Nets and then go get a bag on like a decent team.
or just take the 12 million for this season, because
Oh yeah. Oh, just for the season?
yeah, because
What? That makes no sense. Because isn't the qualifying offer having him stay for this season?
yeah, so it's a 1 year, $6 million deal essentially. He has a no trade clause, which might
Yeah.
sound enticing, but now the Nets when they try to trade Cam Thomas, the team that is acquiring Cam Thomas will not have his bird rights. So they cannot go over the cap to re-sign Cam Thomas unless they're using one of their mid-level exceptions or using cap space. If you're in Cam Thomas's position, he was just given offers basically equivalent to the mid-level exception. So he's obviously not trying to sign there. And then you look at the teams that will have cap space. There's maybe like 3 or 4 teams that are very likely to have more than the mid-level exception next offseason. It will probably be a couple more than that, but there's 3 or 4 teams guaranteed. One of them is the Nets, like we entailed earlier, and it's just very unlikely that he's going to get like a huge chunk signing into somebody's cap space. It's a very tough sell for me to say this is what maximized his potential career earnings, because now his best avenue to money is still re-signing with the Brooklyn Nets, and that's really rough, man. Just could have taken the $12 million for one season.
Maybe he thinks some of that 100 million is going to go to him next.
Yeah, some of it will probably end up going to him too, like you said. It's so weird, and now he has no trade value. The Nets have no incentive to let him build up his trade value either, because he obviously doesn't want to be there, and they had this crazy stalemate where he completely overestimated his value. I think the contracts that he compared to were Tyler Hero, Jalen Green, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickly. And if you know anything about how contracts work, those are all pretty bad contracts, and all of them except Jalen Green are better than Cam Thomas. Probably, RJ Barrett's debatable, but I'd say Quickly and Hero are both definitely better. Especially you can make the argument that at the time of signing the contract, Hero wasn't that much better than Cam Thomas is now, but yeah, those aren't contracts that are viewed as super positive now, and Cam Thomas is using them as the comparison point. If he had been healthy this entire last season, he could have probably stumbled into some money this offseason. But his first real stretch of being a positive, impact player was cut to just 25 games. So that's the rough part for him. And he sees that as not as much of a negative as I think it is on the NBA market, which is pretty rough. And Malik Monk had no value on $19 million this offseason to a bunch of teams. And Malik Monk's a much better player than Cam Thomas. So it's pretty rough. We'll see what ends up happening with Cam Thomas. I think there's a good chance he might not even be a starter for them this year. I don't necessarily think that maximizes their chance of winning. But it could happen. They could just say, screw it. You screw us over, we'll screw you over, type of thing. So, you ready to move forward to core questions, I guess? Let's do it. Do we think the Brooklyn Nets improved this offseason? I think you're muted.
I haven't even said anything. I was deep in thought. You know what? I'll say slightly. I'll say this team's slightly better than last season's the end of the year roster. Yeah, I'll say they had a better team. They got a better team coming in this season, next season, than last season. Not by much. I could. And it's not maybe it's better by 2 more wins on the record books. I'm not expecting anything crazy.
Yeah, and it's worth saying too that the end of season roster was an 18-win team at best. So now we're saying they're slightly better than the team that was an 18-win team. It's pretty rough. Cam Johnson's the only notable loss that they suffered over the off season, but they did downgrade at that spot. Cam Johnson is definitely worse than Michael Porter Jr. and they're gonna rely on rookies a ton this season with all of the guys that they have. So it's gonna be a weird year. Do we think they set themselves up better for the future?
I'm gonna go no on this one. I think it's too crowded of a guard room, to be honest. Like, I mean, I think if you pick one of Trayor and Demon, and then you take Powell and Wolf, that's a way better draft. But the fact that you got like you got both plus another guard that can't really shoot the ball, I just it's like you said, like you're drafting so many players with like low floors and like ceilings that are also kind of low. Like best case scenarios are also low. So I'm a little worried on that end.
Yeah, they are players with a large gap between their floor and the ceiling, but then the ceiling just isn't that high. So it's just a weird draft strategy. They clearly value passing, I'll say the least. I think they could have probably executed the draft a lot better.
Do you think it's passing and pace, like kind of like a mixture of both? Since they were so low last season, and you go in and draft like a bunch of guards that can like see the floor well, maybe like in
I
transition and stuff, or
it's definitely not a coincidence. I don't like
yeah, there's some like they got to be addressing some sort of need that they thought they had, or that they yeah. I think that's the
yeah.
only two options is passing and pace. So I mean, they go pretty much hand in hand, kind of. So
Yeah, and I think Danny Wolf was like definitely the big that they valued. Which was kind of surprising when they didn't like I was kind of expecting them to take him at 19 cuz they valued the passing with Yegor Demon. Like you might as well get the big man since they had no power forwards over the last couple years. Um but I don't know. Like there's so much overlap between their players that they have. We'll see. I think the pace part is a good call too. I think that could be part of it. Um yeah, I think they could have executed the draft better is what I was
yeah,
saying.
I think we made that pretty clear.
You you come away with like three of those guys, and then you move up the other two picks to come away with another higher pick. I could really have gotten behind this draft, but they just didn't do that. Offensive MVP for them. What do we have?
I'm gonna go MPJ. I'm gonna go MPJ. I think he comes in. I think he's more consistent than Cam Thomas is. I hope they like kind of use him like they did Cam Johnson and like run like picks for him to get him like open and not only in the 3 point area but like kind of in the mid range as well because I think he'll thrive in that. He's a really good catch and shoot shooter. And he shot 39% from the field last season, or from the 3 point line last season, and he's a 40% shooter career from the 3 point line. So I think Jordy Fernandez can do some really cool concepts with Michael Porter Jr. And I mean, we could see him averaging like 23 a game. I think that's very possible.
Yeah, I'm a little excited to see how they use him as like a movement shooter. Um, Not excited to see playmaking Porter Jr. Um,
I don't think that's gonna be. I think he's gonna stick to not doing that. There's no way.
Yeah, I see a lot of hype of MPJ is gonna average 25 this season or like even like higher than that. And I'm like, guys, like we said that last year with Cam Thomas and Cam Thomas only got up to 24 points a game. Like we're really overrating the fact that there's no good players on the team. Like they still need to be very good to average 26 a game or higher than that even. Um I kind of think we'll see this year if Michael Porter Jr. is like a really good player. He has played his whole career with Nikola Jokic, and I don't think that's like a nothing of why he's been such a good shooter. He's obviously a very good shooter, but like if he's one of the 10 best shooters in the league or one of like the 100 best shooters in the league, I think we'll find that out this season. I just also just I'm not so much sure like how many other areas he can generate offense in. I think they could use him maybe as a post-up player, especially if like he's playing the three. You could definitely find some mismatches height-wise for him. Um, yeah, I think my offensive MVP is Cam Thomas. He was kind of good last season. Uh, he increased his passing volume a little bit. He got up to almost 4 assists a game. The efficiency was just at league average, I believe, this past season, which is like a huge step forward for Cam Thomas. Yeah, I'm weirdly and like he is the best player on their team, and it's kind of weird to say. I never thought I'd be in this spot. They also might completely screw him over, so I don't know. Defensive MVP is very easily Claxton for me. I'm also excited
Yeah,
for Claxton on offense because he was a pretty good rim finisher when they had NBA point guards, and they just haven't really had that over the past couple of years. So I'm excited to see what that could look like with young but passing oriented players. So uh,
yeah, I agree. I think Drake Powell is also a dark horse candidate. I honestly like why not, right? And I also think that man, like Claxton in his scoring role would be so much fun. I might be mistaken, but I think we had him top five centers in the East last season, or at least I might have. I don't. I think I may have had him at five or something.
yeah, maybe
Um,
in that range.
but like this is a guy that like literally before last season, like this was a really people talked about this guy, right? And I think a lot of it had to do with just um kind of the Nets being kind of trash, and he didn't really get to be that explosive. I mean, his point guards last season, like the ones that could really play make left. He had Killian Hayes playing point guard. Uh, Ben Sim. I mean, Reese Beekman. Like you said, when he had an real NBA point guard, he was doing good. Struggled a little bit because of that, I think. Obviously, Claxton relies on good point guards to score. That's obvious. He's also a great finisher, super athletic. But yeah, I think my defensive MVP. I'll go Claxton too, but I really want to go Powell. But I mean you got to go Claxton.
Yeah, I think Claxton's definitely the right answer in my opinion. I mean, he's just like a pretty good player. Let's see if he goes back to the 3-point volume. That was a thing for him in college. Uh, I don't think it's going to be, but we'll see if that is something that could pop up over the year or so. X factor for them, I don't know.
I'm going Cam Thomas. You had him as offensive MVP. I'm gonna go X Factor. Man, I mean, before he got hurt, 24 points per game off of 35% from the 3 point line and 43% from the field. Like, if he can be a consistent 3 point shooter, and if he can average 24 points per game, like over a full season, even though it's may not what like fans will be expecting, but that'd be super solid. Like to go along with a 20 piece from MPJ, like this could be a competitive team. I think a team that we see a lot, like competitive as in like we see him play in a lot of clutch games, but end up losing and have like a negative something rating. But yeah, I'll go Cam Thomas as the X factor.
I'll counter with the MPJ. I think
Ooh.
if you can find a real versatile way to use him as a scorer rather than just as a spot up shooter, then that is actually something because he can rebound the ball. He can really play the four. The defense can be kind of something, and then he might be like a real player for them that they can carry over into years coming. I just really think the reason he was used as mainly just a spot up shooter in Denver was because that is like kind of just what he is. But this is the time to see is there anything off the bounce game wise? Uh, just let's see it, MPJ. I'm excited to see what it is because if he is, then he's probably like their best player. I like pretty clear in a way. But let's see what MPJ's got. Other than that, any Brooklyn Nets thoughts, talks, takes, um, any I don't know, any preview for the MPJ quotes?
I can't remember what he said in that one podcast.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out. We'll talk about it in the future. We'll talk about it in the future. Talk about it.
he's on quite the media run. Other
Yeah.
than that, since there was all the delays, the next episode will be the Philadelphia 76ers. Pretty sure it was being expected after the Knicks. here we are now. We are finishing up the second to last division. We will see you guys then.